So I think it's really tempting to treat something like indigenization as, a compliance checklist.
Oh, absolutely. A to-do list.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The drill, add a land acknowledgement to your
Yeah.
email signature, maybe assign a new book to the reading list, and then
Yeah.
you
Mark it as done.
mark it done.
Yeah.
But the research we're diving into today, especially looking at work from the educator Steve Chase,
Mm-hmm.
argues that this whole checklist approach,
Mm-hmm.
well, it isn't just lazy. It actually misses the entire point.
It completely misses the scope.
Yeah.
We're not looking at just a curriculum tweak here. We're looking
Right.
at a fundamental shift in how we even exist in our professional spaces. And Steve Chase, he uses this metaphor from Eddy Charlie, a residential school survivor.
Yeah.
It frames this so perfectly.
The river analogy.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a powerful way to debunk that whole one-and-done mindset.
It really is. He says reconciliation isn't a holiday.
Yeah.
It's not a birthday where you eat cake once a year and go back to normal. It's a river. It's continuous, it's flowing, and it physically changes the landscape it moves through.
Which implies that if you aren't constantly moving with it, you're just standing on the bank watching it all go by.
Or worse, you're trying to build a dam. And Chase takes that idea, that continuous movement, and he breaks it down into a framework of 3 lenses: personal, professional, and practical.
Okay.
And he starts with the personal, which is, well, it's arguably the most uncomfortable one.
Because it requires you to stop looking outward at the system for a second and just look in the mirror.
That's it. Chase asks these questions that really stop you in your tracks. Questions like, whose voices am I making space for?
And whose work am I representing?
Right. I mean, it sounds simple, but if you think about the implication, if you aren't asking that daily, you are just defaulting to the status quo.
You're just amplifying the voices that are always the loudest.
Exactly.
And that flows so naturally into the second lens, the professional. And this is where I think a lot of us might feel some friction. Jace argues that our professional success, our degrees, our titles, the very things we're proud of, can actually be barriers.
This is that idea of unlearning. It's so key. We have to realize we succeeded because we're good at navigating the current system.
Right.
And if that system is biased or exclusionary, our success is basically proof that we know how to play by those biased rules.
That's a heavy thought, that our own credentials can act like blinders. We think we're the experts, but we're only experts in one very specific colonial way of doing things.
And if we don't unlearn that, we can't get to the third lens, which is the practical. This is where the rubber meets the road.
In how we assess competence.
Yes. We love our standardized tests, our written essays, but Chase asks, what does learning actually look like?
And to really understand the weight of that question, you have to bring in what the Honourable Murray Sinclair says about residential schools. You just can't separate assessment from that history.
That history is the context we so often miss. Sinclair reminds us that residential schools weren't failed education models. They were highly successful indoctrination models. Their explicit goal was to erase Indigenous identity, to take the culture from the child.
So when we rely only on these rigid traditional assessments today, we are maybe unintentionally echoing that history. We're saying, prove you know things our way, or it doesn't count.
And indigenization is the active countermeasure to that. It's about creating space for Indigenous brilliance to exist without demanding assimilation first.
This brings us to the College of New Caledonia's Indigenous Education Plan, which takes this whole theory and anchors it in a single carrier word.
It does. The word is Lekensnikat.
And what does that translate to?
We change ourselves.
Wow. I mean, that is a massive paradigm shift.
It really is.
Because usually higher education is all about the student changing, right? Welcome to college, here are the rules, adapt or fail.
That's the transactional model. You come here, you fit our box. But Lekensnikat says, no. The institution and the professionals in it must change to support the student.
So the goal shifts from just graduating Indigenous students
to ensuring they thrive.
It moves from transaction to transformation. And that connects right back to Chase's ultimate question. How can learning help communities thrive?
Right. We aren't just transferring data to an individual. We're participating in the healing and strengthening of the community that student goes back to.
It's a lot to process. But if we go back to that river metaphor, the idea that this is all continuous, it makes the task feel a bit more manageable.
It does. You don't have to fix the whole river today.
You just have to be in the water.
Exactly. The question isn't, did I finish? The question is, how am I moving?
So here's something to chew on as you head back to your work. In your own professional life right now, are you swimming with that current of change, helping it carve a new path? Or are you just standing safe and dry on the bank?
That's the question.
Thanks for diving in with us.